up, guys? We are back.
We're back. We're the Marshalls.
Today we are going to be talking about one of our favorite shows of all time, The X-Files.
There was 11 seasons, 217 episodes, and even 2 movies.
Every Friday night a new episode would air from 1993 all the way up to 2003, and even had a reboot in 2016.
Sure, fine, whatever.
When I was a kid, I used to be petrified of this show. I would watch it, not religiously, but I just remember vivid memories of being a kid seeing certain episodes and it just scaring the ever-living shit out of me. Now, The X-Files follows the story of 2 FBI agents. Fox Mulder, played by David Duchovny, a believer, one who believes in all the paranormal and aliens, spooky Mulder, if you will, and
Dana Scully, the logical one. Gillian Anderson.
She doesn't even know her name!
I forgot it, whatever.
We're just kidding. It follows the story of these 2 FBI agents placed in charge of the X-Files, which are generally the unexplainable cases, the paranormal cases, the cases that don't really have any logical explanation to them.
So, the whole point of the show is that Fox Mulder pushes to become in charge of researching and detecting the X-Files. Dana Scully is brought in to debunk his cases, his casework, because the FBI thinks that it's kooky, it's spooky, it's crazy.
Everyone calls David Duchovny, Fox Mulder, Spooky Mulder, and Scully's put down there almost as a means of being just tell us that this guy's a complete quack, kook, and it ends up being that most of these cases are actually, in fact, there is no explanation. It is spooky, it is paranormal, it is fucking aliens.
Sorry, nobody down here but the FBI's most unwanted.
But she's still the skeptic, and Mulder is the believer. Which makes the show's dynamic just such a joy to watch. It's so fun to watch. This whole time, the government is trying to keep them from figuring out the truth and solving these cases. Which is what makes the show so fun to watch. Is are they ever gonna discover the truth?
Probably not.
The first time we started talking and dating was because Vicky sent me a DM of a picture of Mulder and Scully. And then I think I responded with the famous picture from the outtakes where it's Mulder and Scully giving the middle finger on the helicopter.
And now the irony is that we do it to each other all the time.
So over the course of the 11 seasons and 2 movies, there have been so many episodes. We're not going to talk about all the episodes or...
Dead Pit already did that.
Yeah, there's... The guys at Dead Pit did a season-by-season breakdown talking about each individual episode, and if you want to watch that, go to the Dead Pit channel. They have a pretty in-depth thing. What we want to do here today is talk about our favorite episodes. Yeah, there's too much to cover, every single thing. We could do that, but it'd be more fun to hear our favorites, we would think, and why we like them, just fun tidbits about them, and... and then after all is said and done, we'd love to hear what you would have to say. What are your favorites? Or if you agree with what our favorites are. Or if you think our choices are absolutely batshit insane.
Or if you think we got something wrong and you'd like to...
Yeah, I love
add
learning.
In your word.
We love learning.
Yeah,
especially about the X-Files, because we love the X-Files. I used to love the alien episodes, mythology episodes growing up. But over time, I've kind of grown more attached to the Monster of the Week episodes. I understand why people would have trepidations about watching the X-Files thinking it's just about aliens, but it's not, and that's why it's so fun to watch.
It took me years to finally watch it. I thought it was a show about aliens, and I was I don't want to watch a show just about aliens.
You ever had the suspicion that you've been abducted by aliens?
Once you finally watch more than a couple episodes, you realize it's just it's a monster show, a paranormal show. And, of course, the alien stuff sprinkled in, which is nice.
Yeah.
But it's not just an alien show. So if you don't like watching just aliens, it's not.
No.
It's cool monster stuff, and David Duchovny's great, Gillian Anderson's great. William B. Davis as the overarching villain, the cigarette-smoking man, is one of the greatest villains of all time as far as I'm concerned.
And a sweetheart in real life.
Yeah. Here are a couple of our honorable mention favorite episodes. Season 1, Episode 8, Ice. Now, the reason I like this so much is it is just essentially John Carpenter's The Thing starring Mulder and Scully. They're trapped at an Alaskan outpost and a parasite is taking over the human the humans that are down there doing research. And eventually all hell breaks loose, no one trusts each other, and there's a parasite running all over them, running amok. It's amazing, so much fun, and if you like The Thing, you will love Ice.
It's Post-Modern Protheus of Season 5, Episode 5.
This is the singing one?
Yes. Funny take, like a really campy take on Frankenstein.
Yes. And it's all black and white.
He's obsessed with Cher.
Yes.
And is searching...
The monster is obsessed with Cher.
Yes. She even offered to sing for the show because of her admiration of it.
The guy who looks like the Elephant Man?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So, fun fact, I love the Elephant Man.
Second honorable mention is one that I think me and her both find amazing. Season 4, Episode 2, Home. Which I think, if you're a horror fan, everyone that's a horror fan loves this episode. Cannibal inbred brothers who are killing people after they find one of their dead baby brothers buried under a baseball mound. It is brutal, it is violent, and it is disgusting.
Yeah.
And it just kind of reminds me of Wrong Turn in a way. But this is the famous episode that was barred from Fox and airing on TV anymore. But you know what episode I'm talking about. It's amazing.
I watched it the first time right before taking a few-day trip with some girlfriends. I was very quiet because I was so fucked up after watching Home. That was the wrong choice. But I love it now.
My number one favorite is Season 7, Episode 14, Thief, with 2 E's, which jokingly was referenced by Mulder and Scully in the beginning of the episode when they come across thief written as it being misspelled. It's voodoo based. A guy decides that this doctor didn't do very much to save his daughter's life, so he goes after the doctor and his family and uses his daughter's body as the grounds for these voodoo based spells on the family. I thought it was really interesting, and personally when I saw Autopsy of Jane Doe the first time, I wouldn't have been shocked to find out that it was based on this episode, at least in theory.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I don't know. Be my guest. I know how much you like snapping on the latex.
One of my favorites is The Host. Season 2, Episode 2. A kind of fan favorite, if you will. There's even toys and merchandise modeled after this one. It revolves around Mulder going to study a case in New Jersey when a worker is killed in a sewage pipe. A humanoid parasitic organism that's part man, part fluke, that is fallen off a Russian warship or just ship out at sea. This humanoid fluke man is biting sewage workers and anyone that gets in its path to impregnate them and give birth to little baby fluke parasites. It's insane and dark, and the fluke man is really cool looking, and the fact that it takes place in New Jersey only makes me like it even more. There's even the name of the park is even a real park in New Jersey. It's gross, it's awesome, it's disgusting. Now, the series creator, Chris Carter, got the idea for this episode while he was treating his own dog for worms, which is really funny and kind of gross. The suit that they would use for this episode would dissolve in water, which is super ironic because the whole episode takes place in a sewer and essentially in water. So every day they had to create a new suit for Darren Morgan, who at the time wasn't a writer for the show but would later go on to write episodes of the show. And for one instance, wore the suit for 20 hours, and they would even tell him he would have to piss and shit himself if he had to go to the bathroom, and he couldn't even eat because his nose was plugged up. He discovers it's a real fluke man, and is awesome, and just super dark, and just the bites and stuff, all the special effects are really fun to view.
Kill me now.
My number 2 favorite episode is Season 7, Episode 6, The Goldberg Variation, with Willie Garson, who is seemingly unkillable. He could considerably be the luckiest man alive. He keeps getting put into these scenarios where an average man would die or come very close to it, and he just manages to escape unscathed. Now, something I found really interesting about the episode is that the name of it, the Goldberg variation, is actually a dual reference to Rube Goldberg's Ridiculous Machine Designs and the Goldberg variations by Johann Sebastian Bach. Rube Goldberg's been coming up in my life so frequently lately, so I thought that was a hysterical reference and made it funnier to me that it's one of my favorite episodes as I've rewatched. So Mulder and Scully are trying to figure out what is protecting this man, like going into it to try and figure it out, and they can't. And something really funny behind the episode was that Gillian Anderson was very amused by all the machines created to seem like Rube Goldberg machines, but they kept malfunctioning.
Just keep watching. It's unbelievable.
Now, my next favorite episode is from season 4, episode 7, Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man. This episode is almost entirely based on the main overarching villain of the series, the cigarette smoking man, aka Spender. What the episode is about is you see the cigarette smoking man coming to an abandoned warehouse, and he's got his headphones on and he's listening to the lone gunmen, who are the conspiracy men of this whole show, explaining to Mulder and Scully the backstory of the cigarette smoking man. So the episode is the cigarette smoking man reliving his past, which is crazy. We get to see a young cigarette smoking man who is played by Chris Owens, who would later go on to actually play his son Jeffrey Spender in the show, which is really cool. Get a feeling of why the cigarette smoking man is who he is. What the episode is about is the cigarette smoking man is pulled out of the army and is put into a CIA / government dark man op to be, you know, a guy with no background, a hitman, if you will, for the CIA and the FBI and, like, you know, the government dark men you hear all these stories about. So, during the episode, we find out that the cigarette smoking man was actually the guy who assassinated JFK. He's the guy who assassinated Martin Luther King Jr. He's the guy who allowed the United States to win the hockey championship at the Olympics, like the story of Miracle. Responsible for the Buffalo Bills never winning a Super Bowl. It's just like super fun and interesting to almost have like this fake backstory as to what happened with all these, you know, crazy stories in American culture, and it's just fascinating. This is what taking a toll on him. He doesn't want to be this government dark man. He doesn't want to be this bad guy. He wants to be a writer under the name Raoul Bloodworth, which is super fascinating because it is a play on James Earl Ray, who is the guy who was actually convicted of Martin Luther King. No, it was a conspiracy led by a man named Raoul. So it's like X-Files loves like putting in these little tidbits of information, like, oh, so cool. And like, it almost makes you kind of care about the cigarette smoking man rather than him just being this bad guy. You're almost like, yeah, you know what? Like, no wonder he's like this. Like, they made him do all this crazy shit. Of course he's a bad guy now. But he's such a cool villain, and like to hear his backstory is super fascinating. Based on a Superman comic, which I never knew until I like started reading into it. And it's called, the Superman comic is Lex Luthor, the unauthorized biography, which is like, I guess there's a comic book where Lex Luthor is given this kind of like dark backstory, just like the cigarette smoking man. Man, William B. Davis, what a great villain and what a great episode. It's just like, it's heartfelt considering the dark subject matter, but one of my favorites because you finally get to learn why he is this way.
Yeah, this is gonna look real good on my field report.
And my third favorite episode is Hungry. It's season 7, episode 3, about a man who has an insatiable hunger lust for human brains. He works at a fast casual type restaurant where Mulder and Scully first meet him, and Mulder says, "We'll have it our way," joking along the lines of Burger King. Very campy episode, very campy season. Point blank, they discover at the end he is a monster. You never find out exactly why or what happened, but he, again, has this insatiable hunger for human brains and can't stop himself. And he is literally a creature posing as human, and he's going above and beyond to carry on these human traits, even wearing a wig and fake appendages and things of that nature. You actually see it from the point of view of the villain, so that was really fun and interesting. And I also would like to point out that the villain's name is Roberts, which I find hysterical.
What I find fantastic is any notion that there are answers beyond the realm of science.
Brand X. Now this is Season 7, Episode 18. This episode starts with a potential witness in a high-profile, expose on the cigarette company Morley, which is a play on Marlboro cigarettes, is found dead under Skinner's watch. And Skinner, of course, is Mulder and Scully's higher up. The main plot of this episode is following Tobin Bell, who, ironically's last name in this episode is Ashman, which, Ashman, he's a cigarette smoker, smokes a very unique blend of Morley cigarettes, and the secondhand smoke of which kills anyone who is breathing it in because it is hatching tobacco beetles inside the people who are breathing it in, and all the beetles come out of the people and all the people die. And what we learn in this episode is that Tobin Bell, Ashman, was a test subject trying out new tobacco that Morley was eventually released to the public. And all the test subjects, aside from Tobin Bell, died. Now, during the episode, Mulder comes in contact with Tobin Bell and breathes it in and gets sick and has to go to the hospital, and Scully has to save his life and pump all the beetles out of him. Tobin Bell's great. This is before he played Jigsaw, of course. It's just a super weird episode, and growing up, we were surrounded by people smoking cigarettes all the time. So to give a dark backstory to a cigarette smoker, and this guy is essentially a walking weapon anytime he's smoking a cigarette, it's just so cool to me, and I always found it really interesting. A lot of the beetles that they use in this episode were real tobacco beetles. I think they used something like 3,000 tobacco beetles, so when you see the tobacco beetles on screen, those are real beetles. So all the actors must have been crawling out of their mouths and shit. That's so cool to me. And Tobin Bell, again, is just amazing as Ashman, and as this super right-wing, America, man, and it's just he's essentially an anti-hero, because it's just he wants his free cigarettes and he wants to get paid for being a test subject, but he's become a villain of this episode without really wanting to be a villain. He just has no choice now because the tobacco company, made him test these cigarettes that just kill people. And they're trying to shut him out. They eventually just start using him to kill the people that are going to be a whistleblower to the Morley Tobacco Company, which is super crazy and insane. To finally get an episode where they're talking about Morley cigarettes, which are obviously so prominent because of the cigarette smoking man, and to give it a dark backstory almost is so X-Files and so amazing to me. And it's just another one of those things is not only is the government always trying to shut down Mulder and Scully from finding the truth, but even the tobacco company is trying to shut down Mulder and Scully from figuring out the truth. It's amazing. Every episode is great. Every episode has a redeeming quality. Every episode is different, and you can jump in at any point.
But the storylines themselves are all over the place and fun.
So there you have it. There's some of our favorite episodes of The X-Files and some honorable mentions, and just why we really love the show. If you want to watch some of these episodes or just watch the whole show in general, I think it's on...
it should still be on Hulu.
I think it's still on Hulu, or, you have your Blu-ray set like we do, or DVD set. But highly recommend it. It is a classic. There hasn't really been a show like it since. Thank you guys for watching this video. Let us know some of your favorite episodes.
We'd love to hear about it. We'd love to hear factoids if you know more about the episodes we talked about.
Yeah, we love learning.
Yeah.
Make us feel a little dumb sometimes. We like that.
Yeah, we're into that.
Alright guys, so thank you again for watching. We love you. And we'll see you at the next video. And remember, the truth is out there.
Trust no one.
Bye guys.